Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Comedy Pop-Up Podcast. Our next live show is September 29th at the Rec Room in Huntington Beach. That lineup features Ismo, Elliot Chang, Emma Willman, and Suli McCullough. For more information on that show or any of our future shows, please check out our website, comedypopupla.com. All right, let's start the show.
Hey.
Yeah, we're starting with applause. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
That was a serious, polite applause on top of it. It's very
Hey, nice to be. Welcome to the Comedy Pop-Up Podcast. I am your host, Paul Antonio. Welcome back. I'm filling in for Ron G, who I think is missing now legally. I think we have to place some like flyers around K-Town to just see where he is. But hopefully Ron comes back soon. He is filming his Nickelodeon show. He's on to bigger and better things, although I consider this bigger and better.
I would say so. Fuck Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
I said it. Don't hire me for kid shows.
As a Disney boy.
Fuck Disney even more than Nickelodeon. Fuck them both.
They kept his unicycle check in the mail.
Keep it. I don't care. If you are a children's network and you have children's sitcoms, I don't fucks with you.
And the podcast is off the air. Thank you so much. He just got shut down by a mouse.
If I knew he was missing for the last 8 episodes, I would have told him. I just saw him like 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
No, you should have scolded him.
Dang it. Yeah.
Should have been like, we miss you in our shoebox studio in K-Town.
Oh my God.
But I love this place.
Jordan Box, yeah.
I've only slept here 85,000 nights. It's cool. Let me introduce the guests since you guys have already been hearing them. Our first guest, she was featured on Comedy Central Presents Stand Up Asia, HBO's Room 104. She has a dope show called Let's Go Atsuko, which is a woke game show. She's the co-creator of the Disoriented Comedy Tour and her 1 hour special, They Call Me Stacey's on Hulu. Please welcome Atsuko Okatsuka.
Hi, thank you for having me. Hi.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Real blessing.
Was it hard to find the studio?
No, it was great. Yeah, just typed it into a phone.
And it led you straight to it? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people go next door, which is income tax and baby clothes.
You have a big sign in the front.
Yeah.
So those people are tripping.
Dumb, right? let's call out every person that's ever not
Gone to the baby store.
Exactly. Where you at, Henry Coleman? No, I'm just joking. And our second guest is one of my buddies. You've seen him on Adult Swim and Disney Channel, although you will probably never see him on Disney Channel ever again.
That's right.
He's one of the co-producers of Crane's Comedy, which is right here in DTLA with Trevor Smith, Corbin Recchi, and Trish Hadley. Got to give them some love, too. He's also the MC of the Dirt Pit Lounge comedy show.
That's right.
See?
Yeah.
He's performed on the Crave comedy show, which I bring up because Alex Hooper was our last guest.
Oh, sweet. He's a good buddy.
Yeah. And Short Boys on Instagram.
That's
TV. Right? Get that Short Boys plug. Please welcome Harry Moroz.
What up?
Woo, yes.
I want Short Boy's already making the rounds.
Right?
Dig it.
You should have did this show in your character from Short Boys.
It's honestly not that far off where I actually am. So,
well, welcome, guys. Thank you guys for being here, doing this show. I have tons of questions for you, right? And so I want to get into Let's Go Atsuko, your show, because it's coming up, right, at the Dynasty Typewriter?
It is, yeah. Yeah, it's our 5th show. We've had to move because places closed down, like Nerd Melt.
oh, snap. Okay.
Yeah,
Rip in peace.
That was our first
You
2
didn't-
shows.
You didn't want to do it in the alley behind Nerd Melt? You didn't want to do a squat melt?
Squat Melt, yes. Loiter.
Was that a thing? Squat Melt?
is
Really?
a thing.
It's a
It's
thing.
still
it's
a
a
thing?
show, yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there any type of consistency to it, or is it just like once in a while?
I mean, it's
Well-
consistently behind
Yeah.
the shut down store.
Yeah.
To be fair, they had a huge lot in back. Like
It's
that
true,
parking
yeah.
lot was
It
pretty big.
consistently looks like a brawl that's about to start. And the comedians like making their case like, look, my crew just didn't show up. And then because the audience just stands in the parking lot like across from them. So it
Yeah.
looks like if a cop rolled up, like,
It's
you know,
just gonna
a
be a
group
fight.
is like trying to fight this one person.
Should be
Because
like-
we don't have a mic or anything.
It has
too.
a very Sharks and Jets vibe. to it.
Yeah, totally.
improv team fight club or something like that.
Totally.
WeHo story, as it were.
Totally.
Story. That's funny. Well, so it's not like a traditional stand-up show, right? It's a game show.
Right. It's like a variety late night game show. Yeah. It's a spin on the Japanese game show.
So what inspired you to go into that format instead of just doing a traditional stand-up show?
Well, because I grew up watching Japanese game shows, and like after a while, I was like, okay, it's just wacky. There's something missing. I like late nights because it's more, there's like conversations, interesting interviews, you know, and I was like, that's what's lacking in Japanese game shows, you know, and so I interview panelists, and have, musical guests as well as play games. So it's like a mix of everything.
This is just a big old variety show. So I heard, and by heard, I mean Googled that your parents met on a game show.
That is something that also
right?
happened.
What a pool, bro.
I know. It's almost like my life is just like entirely a joke. Well, now that
It sounds like your parents won the ultimate prize, honestly, at this game show.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will each other.
Well, and you, all that, the family.
You're right. They're divorced now, so they only have me.
It was temporary. Everything's got a shelf life to it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, especially if you started off not as a game, I guess, like the whole thing. I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't judge, but if you're gonna look for a significant other, it's hard on a televised.
Yeah. Wait, was the game show they met on like the game show is you date each other, or were they?
You date each other.
Oh
yeah.
shit, that's
it's a
crazy.
Dating game show. Yeah.
So it's like a dating game, or like a bachelorette or kind of deal, or
yeah, but with less watchers.
That's the next thing. It's gonna be Instagram TV dating show.
We should do that. I mean, like Tinder, like everything's I think the same thing, similar.
Yeah. I swiped left on your grandma, and
yeah,
is that the wrong one? I don't know. I don't know which one.
I don't know either.
I was dyslexic. That's why I never matched with anybody.
I can't. Yeah,
going the wrong
funny.
way. Well, what's one of what's something that happens at your show? Probably like your favorite aspect of the show.
I do like the panelists aspect because we get to like catch up on everything they're thinking about at the time, whether it's just like in their life or political or whatever. And then we dig deeper via games. Like one of the games it's called Remember This Day, and it's I dig deep into their Instagram and sort of pick a photo that they posted publicly, and sort of it's kind of like a confrontation, like, why did you post this picture of a banana peel?
You know why. Post that picture of a banana. I know what message you're trying to send.
Is all subliminal.
Peel,
I would love
just the peel.
I would love if you found posts that they had deleted.
right, like drafts, tweeted.
Yeah,
that would be sweet.
Things that like sincere aspects of like failure, maybe things like that. It makes it fun. Yeah.
And I want to highlight another dope show in LA. It kind of, this is going to like ping pong back and forth. But, Crane's Comedy, which happens down the street from the studio. It's not too far from the studio.
Yeah, it's really not that far.
Yeah.
How many nights have you slept there? I'm just kidding. Because
I could, honestly. The guy who owns the place is all about it. It's like his, it seems like his bachelor pad a little bit. But there is a back room. I could crash there if I wanted to, but.
Not 85,000.
But it's
no
weird.
chance, yeah.
It's a Steelers bar, isn't it?
It kind of. I mean, the guy who owns it is a Steelers guy, so it's very Steelers heavy when the games are on. But I mean, he took down a Steelers poster to put up an illustration of my shirtless dad drawn by my mom. That's there now, and they're also divorced, so that's great. Apparently, meeting teacher-student relationship isn't any better than a game show relationship, but you get some beautiful art out of it.
We got a show theme.
Right?
Yes.
Splitting up. But it's a cool show. I like that spot a lot.
I would say that one of my favorite aspects of that show is the fact that your cell phone doesn't work.
Right?
Yeah,
it's like
it's in a basement.
Yeah, for a lot of places when they want to like cut off cell phones, you have to put your phone in that bag. There's that whole technology thing, and then you come to ours. It's a former bank vault, so there's no service coming through. It's sweet, no disruptions phone wise. Because also, like, you're at a show. Do you really need to be on your phone at that point?
Yeah,
seems wild to me.
Now you guys do it on Mondays, right?
Not anymore. Now we're switched to Wednesdays
because of the football.
Monday Night Football. Yeah, he requests that. We hadn't had any problems before, but like we switched up to Wednesday. The last one was the 19th, and it was a great turnout. And I think this next one's going to be October 17th. And that's another Wednesday, so I'm excited for that. It'll be fun.
What was your favorite moment at one of those Crane shows?
It's tough, man. Like, I can say like some of my favorite performances, I guess. One of my favorite moments was bringing out that illustration of my dad and like having that put up. I thought it was pretty funny. But like Sean Grant is historically one of the best performers there. He crushes at that show. And the Sklar Brothers crush. And Brie Pruitt also crushes big time at that show. So I think every time I see them there, it's very good, I would say.
Yeah.
One of the most magical things ever happened at the show where you had Maria Bamford on.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I went and I was just chilling in the corner. There was maybe like, because it's it's one of those places that only a few people pack it out. You know, like if there's 20, 30, 40 people in there, it feels like it's a full house. And it always is a full house.
It is. Sometimes we get like 80 people in that thing. It's like close to 60 on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Especially that night. But I got there early, so I grabbed a seat right next to the stage. So to see Maria deliver her jokes and then like she would like look at me, but just like it's part of her thing. Just look at and I was like, oh, that was
So
as a comedy nerd, I was like, yo,
Yeah.
that was amazing.
Yeah, we've had some like pretty big acts on that. We had David Wayne, and he doesn't perform anywhere. So pretty sweet stuff for us. I'm pretty pumped about it. Ben Roy is another great performer who does our show a whole bunch.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Killers at the Crane Comedy Hour.
Wow.
So-
So wait, the picture of your dad, do they keep it up now?
Yeah, now it just stays there because
And they don't put the Steelers
no, it's just
back on.
it's just taking over the spot.
Wow.
What happened was my brother for my birthday sent me the illustration of my dad, and I was like, oh, this is so creepy. So I hung it up at my apartment because I was out of town. I left her out of town. My girlfriend came back home, and that was the first thing she saw was just this big half naked illustration of my dad, which is creepy enough on its own. And she's like, you got to get rid of it. And I was like, yeah, I know. I don't want this thing in here either. So I took it to the show because I thought it was funny. And then as a joke, I was like, does anybody want to buy this thing? I'll start the bidding at $5. And the bar owner was like, I'll buy it. And I was like, okay, it's yours. Just keep it.
Yeah.
So now it's there's a little bit of me in that bar. And that feels kind of nice.
Was there only the one bid?
It was only the one bid. And I didn't care about any others. I just wanted to get it out of there.
See, that's when you got to like conspire with like Trevor and everything to try and like raise the price and stuff. Be like, no, you say 10. We could get $20 for this thing, all right?
I'd feel kind of creeped out if Trevor had an illustration of my dad at this place. I think a little bit.
I think it would make an illustration of your dad. I think
Another great illustrator, yeah, actually.
What's this coloring book called?
It's the anxiety-inducing coloring book for adults. So I think it's called, oh my God, This Won't Help or something like that.
Yeah.
So it says stuff like, oh man, there's like a picture of a snowman to color in, and it's like color the carrot and just finish once for something in your life or something like that. The book is awesome. It's very worth checking out.
Go pick that up. So see, Trevor getting the free plug, and he only paid me $6.
Yeah, well, I ain't got no merch. Go buy his.
$1 more than your father's illustration. So let's get into the Disoriented Comedy Tour. Now, this was kind of something that was like the first of its kind, right? In terms of being like, well, it was an Asian comedy tour, but it was also predominantly female.
Right, yeah.
So what inspired you to kind of like, well, obviously the lack of female-fronted Asian comedy tours, but what else inspired you to like kind of put that tour together and really form it?
Well, I guess, that was mostly the thing. We wanted to like see if there was an audience for us, if there was a tour, and there was. Because we were like, well, it can't just be us, the three of us. And Margaret Cho and Ali Wong. There's got to be more. And we knew other Asian female stand-ups, but like nationally, maybe there's one hiding in her, basement in Alaska, but she just has no place to perform. You know what I mean? And she or like enough Wi-Fi to post stand up on YouTube or something. You know what I mean? And so it was kind of like a call out to see if we can like band together and sort of support each other throughout the country.
Now, did you find a lot of female comics kind of came out of the woodwork to join you guys, or to kind of like be a part, or at least get themselves a little bit more recognized, that maybe, they were an open micer in Wisconsin or something like that?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah?
Yeah, we started putting on mics too, to sort of like give them a place to like feel good and comfortable and safe about practicing their jokes, so that they can, because I think when you start, open mics are just so scary for everyone.
Yeah.
And then so if like, your parents didn't want you to do it, to like maybe, I don't know, you just don't want to get harassed, you're a woman, you know what I mean? Like, we try to create a space that would be comfortable for people.
Yeah. Did you have that issue with your parents when you first started doing stand-up?
I didn't, no, yeah.
They were like very supportive, like right out of the gate, or they were kind of like, all right, do your thing?
I think they're just happy. Well, so we were undocumented for 7 years here, and it was like a weird situation. Obviously, but like living in a garage and stuff like that, and hiding, and I think it creates a different dynamic in your family when you live like that.
No, I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah, you just
That's
like
the American way.
usually when things like that happen, I think your parents don't still then go, okay, now you have to be a doctor.
Yeah.
It's more like, oh shit, I'm happy we're all here alive and together and nobody got deported. You know what I mean? So like I say I want to do comedy. That's not the tragedy. The tragedy, we already did that part.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I said I wanted to do comedy, they were like, cool, we already lived through a shit life. You know? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So was that like the majority of your childhood was spent in the garage?
7 years.
7 years of your
10
childhood.
to 17.
Was it a manual door or an automatic door
It
for
was
the garage?
definitely it was
to crank it up?
automatic.
Okay,
but
cool.
then we built
Luxury
a
garage.
door that also opened for like body.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't speak English. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you've been really sucking up the English this entire time.
Just private, just homeschool, garage school.
Garage school.
I'm just kidding. No, I went to school. You just pictured me in the, like all Anne Frank style. I left the house. Just writing my one day stand-up comedy. Just like writing in my garage.
Just have to write a diary about exploring your body.
Like one VHS tape of like Margaret show that I had, just that I kept watching. I was like, one day when I get out of here.
It was just that tape and the footage of your parents falling in love on national television.
Totally.
Yeah.
Those are the only two things I know. It's like North Korea, I guess.
So what kind of jobs did your parents have?
My mom and grandma who brought me here were English teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is funny because they don't speak English. But in Taiwan, I guess I don't know. The standards are whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
That makes sense. So, all right, this all kind of goes into one of my first general questions, which is, do you guys believe that comedy is going in a positive direction, or do you think that the bubble is kind of going to pop soon, in terms of like just comedy in general?
Well, it depends on how many years on of Earth we have left. I mean, it depends on if you're talking about how much longer we have.
Yeah, Trump did just get laughed at the UN, which was
That was funny.
that was insane.
That was weird.
Right?
That was weird.
Because all those people in that room are like educated. They're not Twitter trolls. They're like, those are the people you need to impress. And they are like, no, you don't represent us at all.
He had to handle it like a comedian and be like, oh, okay, well, that was handled differently than I thought. Scratch that joke kind of thing,
Absolutely,
like on stage.
We're all sitting at home like, oh man, will he get out of that bomb? We'll see
Totally.
if he can.
Totally.
Yeah, that's insane. And I mean, that's very valid, like this whole like climate. So it's so bizarre, right? Because like if we had Hillary elected, it would never, because I think Hillary would have just kind of been more of the same like afterwards. But this is such an extreme of like kind of like culture shock.
I feel like she would have been not necessarily more the same, but honestly very progressive. I feel like she's kind of downplayed as a very like conservative liberal, but she was pushing like healthcare for all and maternity leave, and those are two major leaps as far as like social change goes. And like on top of that, she'd be a female president, so it wouldn't to me be more of the same. It'd be a lot of maybe more empowerment than what's going on right now. Although there is empowerment, it's just not the right type, I think, in this direction. I don't know. It's just it's a super big bummer, but it's not for one. It's not permanent, and there are always awful people like in charge of awful things. So I feel like the planet will survive at least a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
At least.
How about comedy?
I do think comedy's moving in a positive way because like everything, it's changing with more education and people being more aware. I also think as far as like I'm just gonna look at like the masculine side of things, but like some very bro-y or like very typically masculine dudes are either arguing that comedy needs to stay jokey, or you can't talk about being like non-PC stuff anymore. But at the same time, there are a whole bunch of people who are getting more in touch with their emotions, which means they're getting to know who they are a little bit better. And I think stand-up is best when you're aware of who you are as an individual. And now this is creating a lot of differing viewpoints. It might be like very combative, but at the same time, even with like post-comedy coming in and like people discussing that as a like major style of comedy at the moment and being less about being funny and more about like the art and the message, there's still going to be people making people laugh and like telling jokes on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have to be like rapid fire nonstop. It doesn't mean that it's going to completely do away with it. And on top of that, because of social media, there's so many outlets you can pull it from. You can get whatever comedy you want. So people are always going to provide you with laughter for whatever you want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. There's so many different platforms now. It's like, I think all these little pockets, if you really search for something, it's going to exist. What about you, Atsuko? Do you think comedy is kind of staying and like maybe getting more progressive, or do you feel like there's this blowback against, like this whole post-comedy thing is going to be bad for stand-up?
No, yeah, I agree with Harry. And like what you were saying, it's just created I think the self-awareness is really, really important. And different types of comedy that, like, it's allowed for different types of comedy. And their audiences, if they're only like supposed to just watch Seinfeld or something, there's gonna be some people like more story-driven comedy. Some people like, need to hear maybe identity-driven comedy, because they're going through shit, or you know what I mean. And if you just want to laugh, yes, like then there's observational comedians. I just think that it's created a space so that people can listen to different podcasts and go to different shows.
Right? I mean, you want your disoriented tour. Imagine how, like, just think of how important that was for a lot of people to see it in general. I mean, like, I'm not alone, or like there are people with my point of view, or people who have a more advanced point of view than I do, but are in the similar situation. That's great for not only the country but the world. And it's kind of like when cable came out, people were like, oh, cable is the death of television because now we have more than just these 3 networks. And that's crazy stupid, because there's so many more TV shows that are so impressive, and TV has arguably taken, like, not just TV, but like streaming TV as well, has like taken over movies as far as like important content at this point.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that people they're finding things that really relate more to them, and that they can identify better with like, let's say, I mean, look at the response to like a movie like Black Panther or Crazy Rich Asians, where it's like, finally we have our movie. I mean, I'm waiting for my Latino movie. Hopefully, I want Mexican Superman. I think it's gonna happen, right?
I'm all for it, honestly. I think
because he's already an illegal alien. Come on, guys. I think I read that somewhere. Anyway,
right. No, Coco was just, still animated.
I have been telling everybody that Coco is our Black Panther. Like 100%. Coco made me cry.
I loved Coco.
Oh, Coco. Yeah, I cried many times. I'm a masochist, sort of. So I replayed the saddest scene in the film. I don't want to ruin it, but if you haven't seen it,
don't spoil this old ass movie.
I'm like, you know what? If you haven't seen it, go home.
What is the saddest scene in the movie?
Yeah,
I think it's when. Well, I mean, it makes
you could spoil it.
It's
spoiler alert.
It's when he runs home and he has like very little time to save his great grandpa.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, he needs her to remember, and he's like, and he's like, is it Grandma Coco? Grandma Coco.
Grandma Coco. Mama Coco.
Mama Coco. Remember, you have to remember. And then he sings the song really slow.
Yeah,
that is
her
very
fingers
touching.
move. Because she hasn't
memory.
moved in fucking days.
Yeah.
And she finally, her fingers move, and then she fucking sings too. Yeah, that part I watched
super
like over
sweet.
and over and over and over.
I mean, Disney touching on like dementia and that kind of stuff was just so crazy. I mean, I know Harry hates Disney.
I hate the children's
sorry, and
sitcoms.
we're back
I
on
don't
Disney.
like stuff with kid actors in it, because I feel like it's inappropriate, and that those actors are not there on their own will, and that they're being like over sexualized as preteens. It's gross to me.
Yeah.
But Coco is animated, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
And also, it's beautiful. The message is great. There are 2 things I didn't like about Coco. One, I didn't like how much I loved that dog. Like, I love that dog, and I was like, oh, I just love dogs so much, and it's so stupid, but it's cute. So it was more about me hating myself for it. And this isn't something I didn't like, but like, this is having watched so many American politics, I guess, at this point, or politics worldwide. But when the bad guy was outed on TV for like murdering people, and everyone turned on him, never in a million years would that happen. He'd have so many apologists right away, like, no, that's not true. He didn't do it. I don't care if he said it. It's all a lie.
Yeah.
So I love that it like wrapped up, but to me,
Yeah, because they had to finish the film at some point.
Right. Also, like, I applaud the film for giving the right message, because that's how the world should act. That's just not how the world does act.
Yeah.
Right.
And Edward James almost died in that movie, and that hurt me.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, that hurt me. He was the short little skeleton that like withered away.
Oh yeah.
Edward James almost.
That was death, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, shit.
That right
That
in
was-
the kids movie. By the way,
sad.
you standing up for I'm talking to Harry. You standing up for Disney and Nickelodeon, like
Standing up against?
like,
or
no,
for?
no, against those
Okay,
companies for
great,
over sexualizing teens. One of Atsuko's followers is Jeanette McCurdy.
Oh, she used to date Andre Drummond because she's from iCarly,
Detroit.
right?
Yeah, from
Yeah.
iCarly.
Oh.
So I'm hoping that I'm advocating that you get a follow from her
Okay.
for standing up against
Jeanette
Nickelodeon.
McCordy, like, I don't know how your time in Detroit was, if you ever came to it. I don't know if I messed your name up, but yeah, give me a follow. We'll talk about that whole process.
wanna make
Wait,
that-
so were you a kid actor in Disney?
No, I worked on shows.
He
and-
played a kid
Got it.
actor.
Yeah, I did actually. I was 30. I played a
Harry
14-year-old.
as kid actor.
It's
Oh.
true. They needed a unicyclist, so I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And so it's me playing a 14-year-old with 14-year-olds being played by 12-year-olds. So
Wow.
I'm like this monster on a unicycle over these tiny little children, and it was very strange.
And we have to
Wow.
preface it by saying that Harry is a unicyclist. He didn't like learn it for that role. That is
That's beautiful. I bet they were so stoked they could keep you longer without paying you more.
It's probably true, honestly. Super freaking pumped
was
about
every
it.
shot from like the back of the head or
No, I'm face on in there. There's a lot of me in that episode. Ant Farm season 3. I can't remember. It's like Informant or something like that is the name of the episode.
So
or-
it's a recurring unicyclist?
It's only in one episode. My name was Philip. I don't have any lines, thank God.
they
But
gave you a name though, which is insane.
they did give me a name.
was
I
a
have,
guy on unicycle.
yeah, right. I have an Adam's apple bigger than most of the children on the show.
No,
it's,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just insane being in that thing.
Wow.
I don't know if I asked you this. So Harry was my very first guest ever when I used to do the Next Wave, which is now Spaced Out on the network. So listen to the Spaced Out podcast. That's what I host.
Right, bro.
Spaced Out, man. But what made you get into unicycling?
I wanted to. So growing up, I was tiny. Even when I graduated high school, I was 4'11", like really small dude. So I was just into goofy shit. And like my mom's French and a painter, and my dad works for nonprofits, and they're very like supportive of the arts and just like they're very supportive parents. So I'd always seen unicycles, and when you're tiny, you want to be like, you have to stand out some way, right? So I was trying to be like the goofy guy and stuff like that. And then I saw a unicycle, and I was like, I'm gonna be the person who does this. I went to a basketball game. I was in a basketball league, no big deal. I'm pretty fucking good at basketball. Tried out for Michigan State's team, no big deal.
Tried out.
I tried out, got laughed at by Tom Izzo. That's the second story.
Really?
Oh yeah, I got run over by this player, and I started streaking on my face. You know, like when ice skaters have one foot on the ground and they're like gliding on the ice. I was doing that, but with my face on the hardwood, sliding on the floor, and I could see Izzo cracking up at how embarrassing I was. So after that point, I was just like, "Fuck the Big Ten, fuck basketball." I still love basketball, but I mean, Michigan State's another school that's as problematic as the Disney child actors thing.
That's accurate.
So my whole life
No,
is
he's
just
a
been
Michigan boy.
trailing it at this point. No, fuck Michigan too. Fuck all sports in school.
Fuck school.
Yeah.
If you could take one thing from this podcast, it's fuck school, all right?
Homeschool
Look at Atsuko. She learned it in the garage.
Homeschool your kids, garage school your kids.
Garage.
Do whatever you can.
Why stop at garage banding? Garage, study your way up, bitches.
I love that shit. But, yeah, it was before a basketball game, and there was a unicycle club at this gym, the Redford Township Unicycle Club, and I was like, I want to do that. My parents were like, yeah, great, we'll all do it as a family. So then we just started unicycling.
You were a family of unicycles.
yeah.
Wow.
Awesome. That's dope.
Beautiful.
It was pretty cool.
So you were too tiny, and that's why you wanted to do things like unicycling.
Right.
By the time you got recognition for it on TV, you were too big.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh man, life is not fair. Life is not fair.
Oh, I'm doing pretty
It's
fine.
terrible. I know. I'm sorry. I'm gonna watch out for Philip,
Watch for that Philip recurring role
25-year-old.
when they bring back
14.
Ant
Yeah,
Farm.
there should have been a spin-off of just Philip.
There should have
Right.
been.
Yeah, what his life is like hanging out with 14-year-olds.
You're actually 30 in the TV show.
Right? It's the most accurate
Yeah,
Disney
it's
show of all
about
time.
Philip at
Adults
the
hanging out
right
with
age.
kids.
Yeah. Totally.
Philip, Predator? Question mark. That's the next movie.
Unicycle predator. Oh no!
That's the new Vulture article that's going to come out. Philip, does he have a dark past? What are his intentions? Oh, that's hilarious. And that veered us, as one does when riding a unicycle, it veered us off course.
Yeah.
Pretty dramatically. All right, I gotta ask you guys, besides the shows that you do, besides like Dynasty Typewriter and Crazy Comedy, what are some of your favorite venues to perform at in LA?
You want to go first, second, third?
Whichever.
I'll go first. So
Yeah, you go. No, where do you like performing? I guess, you've been asking all the questions.
no,
We haven't asked you any.
I know. That's what I wanted. When I had on the show, one of the previous episodes, we had Kurt Metzger and Annie Letterman on, and I love them. We were talking. We talked for 3 hours before the show.
They're okay.
They're okay.
No, I love them. They're great. They're both awesome. I was just hoping they'd listen to it.
Kurt Metzger headlined my birthday show, and I went on after him. So now everybody in that town, because the IE comedy scene's different than the LA comedy scene. Like, it's kind of like two different scenes. So everybody keeps saying that. He's like, oh yeah, I forgot Kurt Metzger opened for Paul. Whenever I have an opinion about anything, they're like, we should listen to him. Kurt Metzger opened for him.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but when I was talking to them, it really did turn into them just interviewing me.
You want to know what's in the mind of Paul?
Which is how I prefer. That's what the people listening really want to know.
I think they do, dude. They probably listen to it a lot for you.
Right.
Not this show. I've been on like 6 episodes of the show. They're like, I thought he was just the producer.
They're like, where's Ron?
Where's Ron G?
You're like, don't ask questions I'm asking too.
The G actually stands for gone. He's Ron Gone. I love performing at the Comedy Store, especially like now that it's really pumped up. Like, people go there to watch comedy, so I'm about that. And both my shows, I love performing at both of them. Cranes and Dirt Pit, great audiences. Dynasty Typewriter looks cool as fuck.
Harry has never been asked to perform there,
It's
but
true.
it's okay.
I haven't. No big deal. We'll get there eventually.
It's haunted.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I love it. I saw Adam Sandler there.
It's haunted.
It's
It's the best for
It is haunted.
This is coming from somebody who grew up in a garage. the haunted garage.
Yeah, no, literally.
The only haunted garage is John Benet Ramsey's garage.
Wow.
So
Don't carry your flashlight over there.
I honestly, Chatterbox is another like super fucking awesome show.
Yes.
Crave is an awesome show. I like performing at shows.
O'Donovan's Pub in Pomona.
Yeah, I was about to get to that. I love performing at shows where the producer cares about the show. Like, if a lot of times the producer's just like, I want to do a comedy show because I want to like get to know the talent, or because I'm a comedian and I want to get booked on other spots. I don't like doing those shows
Trade
because
spots.
I don't want to trade spots, and also your show sucks because you're not putting any effort into doing so. Running a show is a lot of work. You know that.
Yeah.
Promotion's insane. Booking's insane. Making sure everything goes smoothly it's nuts.
Like,
So
I almost hate it.
right.
I want to quit.
It's real rough.
And the show is canceled on September 30th. Maybe we'll book a show with Harry on it so he can get up at Dynasty.
Wolf's Den is also another good show. So if you, that's in like the Silver Lake off Sunset Boulevard area. If you care about your show, I want to do your show. I think that matters the most to me, especially if you can get people who aren't comedians to be in the audience. Also super great.
Yes, and I think that reflects, or that shows, like, the audience can tell.
Right.
When you're genuine about your comedy show, when it's not just like that. Because for every show that, like, Harry did one of my shows in Pomona that was like maybe like 10 people or 15 people, but I've also had 70 people in that room. And you know what? It's been great shows no matter who's in the room.
Yeah, I've had on a couple of your shows, they've been packed out, and a couple there haven't been that many people, but no matter what, whenever I've done your shows, they have never been bad shows as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I'm never sad to go out to Pomona. Especially when you book me, I'm always happy to be out there. So
I appreciate it.
you're welcome. Thank you.
I'm going to save this audio clip.
For when you're like, I'm tired today.
It's for my next one night stand. I'm going to play the audio in the background. I just need some extra motivation on this for this.
My brand is antidepressant. That's what I go for, the non-medical kind. What do you like before? What are your shows, Atsuko?
I think you are right when people are really stoked about comedy, and so the people coming out are also stoked about comedy and the craft, and just like even watching performers who like wrote out this stuff. You know what I mean? Like just geek out and just want to laugh. You know, that kind of audience. Even if it is 10 people, it's awesome. You know. Witch Hunt is a great show.
Witch Hunt is a sweet show, Virgil. Yeah.
Put Your Hands Together.
Everything at UCB Franklin. I fucking
UCB.
love.
I'm at UCB. Yeah, I really love UCB, I think.
It's a fucking sweet spot.
I remember before that
Sweet
show
spot.
popped off, when it was like the pre-show to or the post show to Douglas Movies.
It was the post show, yeah.
The post show to Douglas Movies, and like just going there and just staying for when they used to be like, oh yeah, you don't need it to, like, you could just stay for the show afterward because it's not going to be packed out. I remember I think I saw like Hannibal Buress on like one of those Put Your Hands Together shows. Like those shows were insane.
They're super good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So UCB Franklin was my first introduction to like LA comedy because, like I said, I'm from the Inland Empire, so I mean I know like Ontario Improv and that kind of stuff because that's where I'm from, like over there. But my first couple shows coming to LA were at UCB Franklin, so yeah, that's an amazing venue.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think it's because people do care about the shows and et cetera, et cetera. There's smaller ones too, but right now my mind is blanking.
Yeah, yeah. It seems to be like the smaller shows, which, by the way, that kind of leads into. See, I got a list of questions, man. I do.
That's all good.
But do you guys prefer performing in LA or do you guys prefer performing on the road? Like, what's kind of like your bread and butter?
I like performing on the road because I get paid, and also because like a lot of times people need a break from their life. Like they just need to laugh. They need to forget about something. In LA, sometimes I feel like people are there just to see someone famous or to like spot whatever the next new talent is. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. The thing I like about performing in LA, there are two things. One, I like performing with my friends. And number two, I like that I don't have to travel. I like that I can go home, hang out with my fiance, pet my dog, sleep in my bed, smoke my vaporizer. I'm all about it. I got one of those stay-at-home vaporizers. So,
yeah. Which I mean, sorry, hold up. I'll edit out this sneeze.
No, yeah.
If it's coming. Well, I don't think it's coming. It's like when you say pineapple and then it just like goes away.
Oh, is that
pineapple,
true?
Pineapple when you're about to sneeze. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
I heard if you raise your eyebrows really, really high, it makes you stop too.
Really?
I've tried it, but it really hurts. I think I went. I think I went too high. I really like pulled almost the muscle.
It's like on the top of your head. your eyebrows are just chilling up here.
Apparently.
I have misread the instructions on this.
I was like, how do I bring it back down? No, but apparently that's what surgeons do when they're trying not to. They can't sneeze. It's a life-threatening. You might kill a person.
So
right?
instead, they just look freaked out.
What's wrong? We're good.
And nobody in the room can laugh. You know what I mean? It's a hard job. Speaking of
Tough rooms.
Speaking of LA or out of town, yeah.
Who's booking that surgeon gig?
Oh my God! Can you imagine having a comedy show in like the waiting room?
Oh my God!
Well, who does that? Those pop up, not obviously not
pop up waiting. What? Which one?
They do. What's that stand up show where they just show up and start doing the Adam Hunter's?
The Show Up Go Up show?
No. Adam Hunter does a show where they just like roll through and then just bring a speaker. They'll be at like a DMV like waiting room or something, and they'll just do a stand up show. Like wherever.
Just an ambush wherever?
Yeah, they should do like an ER room, like waiting room.
The person like crushes and then, I'm sorry, your patient didn't make it right afterward. You killed. Yeah.
At least he got a laugh.
Yeah, that's true.
Before he went.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever performed, and I know Harry has on like Crave Comedy, but have you ever performed on a stage that's like not a conventional comedy stage? Like maybe the audience members weren't there specifically for comedy, and if so, did you enjoy that more than a normal comedy stage, or is it comparable?
It can be fun, but it like a flash mob situation always makes me feel uncomfortable if the people were just trying to eat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like a Denny's. This is the new pop-up Denny's mic.
Whether it's like at a bar where people are like, "Come on, what do you mean?"
Yeah.
I didn't see the sign for comedy night. God damn it! Go drink somewhere else.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Where you're chasing customers. Now Harry did at Crave. It was like a festival, but it was like a mix of like a festival and comedy and.
Yeah, so Crave has been. Crave is at a whole bunch of different venues. Sometimes when it's in Los Angeles, everybody who's going there knows that there's a comedy show happening at that spot, and then there's like a rave afterward, and then the festivals is performed. It's going to be at one, I think, at the end of this month, maybe next week at Camp Trip, which DJ Keeks puts on. It's a sick festival. It's so much fun. It's a little bit like Burning Man but toned down, or like the Detroit Electronic Music Festival, or like just whatever those kind of drum and bass music festivals that you go to, or like dubstep music festivals. I know I'm fucking up the music, whatever. It's those festivals with a little taste of comedy in it.
Where is it?
This one, Camp Trip, is out in the Mojave Desert. So people just drive out to the desert. They dress all like however the fuck they want to dress, which is very bedazzled, very bright colors, a lot of neon lights and stuff like that. And there's a lot of like slacklining walking going on in the day, and then like arts and crafts stuff, and then like live bands, and then DJ sets, and there's sometimes music stuff. The last festival I did with Hooper for Crave was at Desert Hearts, which was incredible. That spot it's wild. I think it's like 5,000 people show up. No cell phone service because it's at like an Indian reservation, and there's like no cell phone stuff around anywhere. It's pick up your own waste, that sort of thing, and it is a ton of beautiful people wearing crazy clothes. If you're dressed even like kind of normal, you look like a freak there. It's so strange. And because the thing about those events that I never took into consideration was how positive the vibe is there. Like everyone is just so nice and like happy, and they just want to have a good time. Not like I need to do drugs to have a good time and forget about life. It's, hey, you're a person, I'm a person. We share this world together. Let's be cool to one another and experience stuff. And the comedy at those events are amazing because you can go and do you can take a lot of liberties about what comedy is or about like how you perform and stuff. Right. And it's just wild. I love doing it. I think it's very fun if the crowd is down for it. Not like you said, if it's ambush, it's bad. If it's unconventional, it can be great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my only experience with that is like kind of like doing like before rock shows. I used to like MC rock shows and stuff, or like just little whatever where people are just like obviously not there for comedy. You're like, I got to win over this attention or something. And it's like, especially when it's like punk bands and stuff where those people, they're sitting there with their septum piercings. Like, I don't want to listen to comedy and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I think it's crazy. Like, it could be valuable because it is like kind of pushing yourself if there's like a crowd that like is not there for comedy. Right. But at the same time, it's like, I think it's just like an experience. Like you were talking about, Harry, like it's hard to find like vibes like that at a pure comedy show unless it's like a festival. Right. Because like now comedy festivals are like the newest rage and everything. And they really like.
It's the best way to lose money. Starting a comedy festival.
You talk about it as a performer, right?
I mean, as a performer, as running the festival. Buying a ticket.
Just, jokes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I think it started with like Oddball Fest, right? Wasn't that like one of the first like mainstream festivals that kind of started pushing?
I mean, Oddball's been big. Bridgetown was huge. Just for Laughs is one of the longest running ones. And even before, like in the 90s, there was Aspen, the comedy festival out there. And it's a long standing thing. And like Laughing Skull, that festival has been going on for a long time and it's changed over time as well.
I'll be going to my first festival not as a comic, but as a basically not working the festival either. I'm doing audio recordings and like podcast. I'm basically going as a podcast producer, which is super weird. But what advice would you give somebody who's going to their first comedy festival, kind of like to get the most out of that experience?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I think if it's like let's say you're supposed to do like a showcase set for a comedy festival and it's your first year, I usually like to suggest, well, at least for me, don't try your new stuff. Like, do the stuff do the stuff that crushes. You know what I mean? Because you're making an impression in a new town, around
industry,
new
right?
bookers, and new even comedians, who you're getting to know. And so like do the stuff that crushes back where you came from. Yeah. And then, you know what I mean? And then, Don't do your Southern Mama or that was a even though that's what crushes back home, right?
Yeah. I think that's his bread and butter. But he's also mostly an Instagram guy, I think.
Yeah. But you also have to read the room.
Totally.
Which I think maybe he didn't do.
Yeah, and then
he's also not really a comedian. So there is that. You're you're on stage doing stand up.
Now that we're peeling more layers.
What if
he was never supposed to ever be there?
All right, I'm proposing a new show, right? And this is a new show. You're on stage, right? The performer comes. It's completely black. The performer comes out. The lights turn on for 60 seconds. After that, the lights turn off for 2 minutes, reset, and then it's a new 60 seconds. It's just like an Instagram live show.
That actually is pretty sweet. I think that's pretty funny. I think that's not a bad plan.
I'm gonna make $3 to be the sweetest $3 of my life.
Not to go back to what Atsuko was saying, but I wish I'd heard that advice when I did my first festival, which was Laughing Skull. I was like a year into comedy, and I did new stuff on that stage the first time, which was super fucking stupid because comedy's all new, and I was just excited about doing it. But you got to prove yourself, right? Yeah, that's the whole point. So that is great. I think her advice is wonderful. Yeah, I also say live it up. Like go out there. If you're like an introvert, sure, like stay in, but like take advantage of the networking. I know it sucks, but it's part of the job. And also just have a good time. Treat it like vacation, because as comedians, we don't really get that many vacations. We're supposed to be like having fun a lot, but you're away from home, and you don't have to like talk to a ton of like audience members like you would after a show when you're booked at a club, or like figure out where you're going to eat or like who you're going to be hanging out with. Just take this opportunity to make some friends. I would say. Absolutely. I think networking is so important. I mean, network is how you get everything in this industry. I'm only a couple years in, but I had like a situation like yesterday. We were at an open mic,
And this girl who just moved here literally that week from Indiana came up to me and she was just like, yeah, so I have like an Instagram, but like, what do I do with it? Like, do I need to like keep posting jokes, videos? And I told her, I said, honestly, it doesn't even matter. Like, yeah, you shouldn't be targeting like, oh, I want to blow up. I want a huge fan base. But I said, most of my followers like on Instagram, they're other comics or they're producers or they're just people in the industry like that. I was like, that's what you kind of need to aim for. If you have Big Spit, Carl Spitali. I don't know if you guys know Carl.
I know him, yeah.
Yeah, he came up to me, he's like, you know what I hate about you? And I was like, whoa. Yeah, to me, which is always the best. I just think he's going to say something racist in his Trump voice or something. Yeah. But he goes, you know what I hate about you? And I was like, what? He's like, you don't have that many followers on Instagram. And I was like, all right. He's like, no, but those followers are dope. He's like the people that you have on your Instagram. And like, that's what you should kind of be targeting.
I completely agree. I mean, like, it's about interactivity on social media. It's not necessarily, I mean, like the numbers are what like producers are looking for, but at the same time, like to generate the conversation and to like hit your market is more important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. So we're starting to wind down on the podcast and we're going to get into a quick fire question section. In which I'm just going to ask you guys a question. You guys just kind of give me a short little answer and we'll go on to the next one. I got 4 for you guys. And the first question is, and whoever wants to start, first question is, if you could get coffee with somebody alive or dead, who would it be? And I have to qualify who would it be because Ismo was on the podcast and said alive.
That's actually super fucking funny.
Yeah, me and Ron could not stop laughing.
I mean, this is kind of a lame answer, but I think I'd like to get coffee with Kurt Vonnegut. His writing's like pretty poignant and like very succinct and also very, I guess, metaphorical in a sense. So like, I feel like talking to him would be pretty interesting.
Kurt Vonnegut. I thought they were going to say Kurt Metzger.
Kurt Metzger. I can make that happen. I'm not too worried about that.
I don't think he needs coffee, to be honest.
I think we should all be trying to meet with Ron, make sure he's okay. I don't know why we're Ron. Like, well, if he's down the street, has anyone gotten? Did you try texting him? We should try. We should be like, hey, coffee, just to check up on him. You know what I mean?
That's so funny.
That was so great.
But speaking of people who've been missing, I would want to get coffee with Jesus. I would.
You turn that shit into a Merlot.
Hey,
well, I would be like,
up,
hey,
everybody?
so like, okay, so it would be present time, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I would probably call him out.
You don't have to drink Jesus age coffee.
Oh,
Just
thank
a
goodness.
bean and boiled water.
Oh, bean. It was probably bigger back then too, huh?
Yeah.
It just got smaller over the
Just a
years.
giant
Thick bean, yeah.
Thick bean
Big
is
bean.
my favorite stripper.
With a Jesus beard. What? You were going to call Jesus out on something?
I would call him out on everything.
Yeah?
Because, yeah, I would. Now, if he showed up,
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, it would be during the second coming, right, that I have coffee with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'd probably be like, hey, what's new? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm so pissed. Like, I'd be like, you wouldn't know, would you? You know, like, you know what I mean?
You would scold Jesus?
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, because he's like, hey, I'm back. I'm like, it's been 2,000 years. You know what I mean? If someone told you they were coming back, usually, how long would you wait?
You sound like Jesus.
Trillions of people are waiting for him.
It's like Jesus' girlfriend. Like,
No,
really,
I
you just
would.
left?
I would.
He just ghosted
I'd be like,
everybody.
if you, oh, what's new? You know, like if you'd been around.
Jesus, the ultimate ghoster.
Right?
Yeah, if you'd been
The
around.
Holy Ghoster. That's a word.
Totally. The ultimate ghoster. Putting faith in so many people, hope. Maybe for no reason.
Yeah.
You know, people die. Generations haven't seen him. Every day they pray, oh, he's going to come back soon. You know what I mean? I think that's...
I mean, he comes back as like toast and like marks on walls and stuff, I guess.
Stains on
No,
toilet.
totally. That's true.
Yeah.
Stains on toilets.
Stains on toilets. Yeah.
All right, let's get into the next question.
Jesus.
Jesus, what smell reminds you of home? Stains on toilets.
I guess fucking gasoline. Motor City, baby,
Motor
Detroit
City.
area.
Oh.
Unemployment.
Yeah. If that smells like anything, just like sweaty Mountain Dew, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Anything burning smells like Michigan, a fair share.
Yeah.
Wow.
What about you,
That's
Atsuko?
deep.
Garage door motor.
Yeah, like
Motor.
a mildewy garage door. Like
Damp cardboard, whatever.
I would say like a dull sweat, like a dull sweat on carpet.
Mhm.
Kind of home. Nobody ever turned the AC on at the house, so
Really?
people are always hot, just like drenched in sweat. But they're like, we have a fan, it's fine.
Every time you walk by like a gym locker, you're like, oh, home.
A little bit, actually. Yeah. No deodorant.
I
Yeah.
hope this is like a therapy session for Atsuko. She's like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
And nobody.
Oh, was this supposed
ever,
to be happy? Oh, I'm
nobody
like,
Save those happy memories for Jesus.
I'm like chicken teriyaki. The smell of chicken teriyaki. What do you want me to say? The smell of fried rice
Jesus,
being made.
you
when
didn't
my-
supply us with any towels to wipe our sweat from the fans. That's hilarious. All right. If you weren't a comic, what would your career be? Professional unicyclist. Harry Moroz.
God.
Yeah, because like you actually have to be talented in it, right?
Yeah.
And like it sounds like you are.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like my side job is editor, like a TV show editor, so I guess that's probably what I'd be doing. But if it wasn't like either of those things, I liked working in a grocery store a whole lot. I know that's lame, but I fucking loved it, dude. I'd steal all the produce. I was eating way better than I ever was before. It was like that's how I wrote my first joke, I think, or my first good joke was like, you ever like regret quitting a job because you missed all the shit you used to steal from that place? It's because I would rob this grocery store on a regular basis. I don't know how much robbing it is because it's like food that they're throwing away, and I was like, I'm just gonna take all this.
Yeah.
I straight up robbed my place. I worked at a Circle K, which I always called Special K by accident, especially when the owner called. It's Special K.
No.
But they would have like like you could like change the price on things. I'm like, I guess this is a penny.
Right? Absolutely.
I guess this is now a penny. All right, cool. For like, we
But
didn't
you
take
still
inventory.
did the robbery, like the pre.
It
You
was
still did the hands up, and then you it's a penny. Would you do the whole robbery, or you would just do the?
I would role
It
play
was
with
more
myself.
metaphorical. What?
I was like role play with myself. I'm like, there are no customers here. I was training to see if they would steal it. They've just always been successful in these run throughs. You never know. That's hilarious.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So what would your career be?
I don't know. Well, I'm not talented enough in it at all, for sure. Not at all. But I've always wanted to. I've always thought maybe like a rapper, singer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rapper, singer.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. That's it. That's not too interesting.
What type of rapper do you think you'd be most like? Do you have any in general that you're closest to? Any inspirations?
I wouldn't. Okay, maybe it's not so much rapping. I mean, so dance hall is a big inspiration for me, like Jamaican
Yeah.
music, and so, however that would be possible, I don't know. I think technically that's racist.
Is it?
I don't know.
I don't think so. Okay.
I mean, not racist, but I mean, because like I've never even been to Jamaica.
So I have.
And I'm just all brah brah, you know? You know what I mean?
Zion.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Just from like
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
Silver Lake in my house, you know, just like, you know, I don't know, Bomba Clot family, you know, this be at school, me, you know.
You're good, so you got it totally. All right, I don't want to go off like on a tangent about like cultural appropriation or anything, especially being a straight white, potentially the straightest whitest guy on the planet. But
Wow.
what I want to say about it is like back in the day, if you were like a winger, which I know it's a bad term, it's because like you were just like faked out and you just wanted to be something so bad. But like we have so much access to so many different cultures at this point that like all my entertainment growing up was like Wayne's Brothers shit, like Don't Be a Menace, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, and then a lot of like Next Friday, BET was always watching on a regular basis. So maybe I seemed a little bit wigged out, but that's also the culture I was raised on. So isn't that part of who I am as a person?
Yeah.
If you like really appreciate it, it's more appreciation than appropriation to me. But
No, yeah.
You can't win anymore.
But I'm
You're
still not
white.
going to put on the accent because I don't have one.
yeah, for
Right?
sure.
Yeah.
You're not gonna.
So we'll see. I'm wondering how that would even sound. sound, right? Where it's like, this is Atsuko. You know, like you wouldn't even know what I'm doing.
That would be dope.
I think that's great. Honestly, I think that's what stands out more.
Family.
Yeah.
By the way, I love the part in all dance hall songs where there is a guy in the background that just randomly goes, family. Yeah.
Every dance hall.
It's a very neat joke, but
they have their hype man on stage.
But it's very emotional. Like in American music, it's always like yeah or something like hyping you up. In Jamaican music, it's somebody like reminiscing about something that they lost. You know,
my dog died.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Garage school.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right.
I think you should go for it, honestly.
Yeah. No. I
Okay, I'm gonna try one,
want you
and
to
I'll
have
send
it.
it
At
to
your
you
show.
all first.
Yes.
Huh? My
Let us
first
know.
track.
And then I'll leak it on Instagram on my IGTV.
Make a music video with your grandma. Is that what that was? Music video with your grandma that I saw you like dancing around with?
We do, yeah.
It's so fucking funny to me. I fucking loved it. So
Yeah, maybe Grandma will be the hype man. Yeah. Yeah.
family.
Family. I miss my family. Yeah.
All right. And the last question to close us out. If you could go back in time and give barely starting out you a piece of advice, like in comedy, what would it be?
Is that?
No, that was me.
Okay. Mine is visit Los Angeles before moving to Los Angeles. Fucking visit it, take it seriously comedy wise. Don't come here and like take advantage of the shows that you can. If you're from a different city, you can come to LA, you can come to New York, visit, do all the good shows, see what the scene's like, and do your best stuff, and then be a hot commodity as opposed to moving here, doing open mic over and over again, and having to build your way through.
Yeah. That's a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
Or don't move to LA. Not you specifically, but others.
Yeah, stay out of the city.
I'm a nativist.
Young native, get it. Let's go. What you got to go?
I think that I would say like make a decision, like, you know, because I was so like, I love it, but I'm gonna have a backup plan. I love it, but I'm gonna have a backup plan. And so there were opportunities or times where, you know, I should have just gone more all out with the comedy. But then I was like, you know, like, I feel like, you know, I didn't need to go to grad school. You know, I went to grad school. That was 3 years where I really couldn't do as much comedy because I decided to also double major like a fucking crazy person.
In grad school?
Yeah. So I was all the time just doing that work.
Would you double major?
Fucking
drum and
it
bass.
doesn't even matter exactly. Yeah,
Jamaican beats.
I majored I majored in family, minored in bumbleclot. So stupid. So stupid. No, film, video, and creative writing. Thank you very much.
Family.
Okay.
You give your valedictorian speech.
Yeah.
I want to thank my.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
No, I know. I don't know why. Yeah, I know. Jamaicans. Do you have a Jamaican demographic for this podcast?
Yeah,
I'm
huge.
just
We're
curious.
huge. We're huge in the rock steady
Like-
community. It's a little different, but they appreciate the references. All right, guys. Well, we've reached the end. We've learned a lot about you guys. We've learned that Harry's mean with a unicycle.
Yeah.
Atsuko was the original garage open mic.
Garage. Yeah.
The original garage mic.
Garage
killer.
bumbleclot.
I come straight from the garage. So I want to thank you guys for coming on the Comedy Papa podcast.
What is it called? Comedy Bumbo. Bumbleclot cast.
The Papa podcast.
Okay, we won't do any more patois puns.
Ranji's like, I'm good. From ever coming back. Let's go ahead and get on our social media. So, Harry, you go ahead and start off.
What's up, Harry Moroz at HRMOROZ on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook at Harry Moroz. My webpage, harrymoroz.com. Follow Short Boys as well at HowToShortBoy, BOI. That's something I do with Aaron Weaver, another hilarious fucking dude. And follow Crane's Comedy, follow Dirt Pit Lounge, and that's pretty much all I got right now going on. I got some other stuff coming up, but we'll talk about that in the future.
You got it out there. You say, we'll talk about it off air. You're plugging it to me? All right. Atsuko, what do you got coming up?
Well, you can follow me at Atsuko Comedy. Comedy spelled, no, I'm just kidding. Atsuko spelled
COMEDDD.
Atsuko spelled ATSUKO. What else? Oh,
I like that you told your own followers how to spell your name who are already
I
following
know.
you.
I realized that. I was trying to Instagram stories, and then I was like, "You're already on here." I have the Japanese game show this Sunday,
September 30th, right?
September 30th
with
at
Kyle
8 p.m.
Kinane, Mary Lynn Rashkubs on it.
Yes, yeah, and
Michigan native.
yeah, boy, family. It's gonna be at Dynasty Typewriter. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and if you guys want to follow me, you could find me at the Paul Antonio on everything. The Paul Antonio. October 17th, I'll be at the Bray Improv, so please hit me up for tickets. I'll also be coming to Montana, Billings, Montana. I'll be there. Big Sky, I'm helping. You're not gonna see me on stage, but I'm gonna be right behind the stage recording people. Yeah, and please follow Comedy Pop-Up at Comedy Papa at CPU Podcast to find all of the shows on our great network. And other than that, you guys have
Can I plug one more thing before you sign off? Sorry.
family. You're lucky you are family.
Sorry, I'm going to be at the Beast Village Comedy Festival in Des Moines. So if you have any Iowans that follow you, come out to that festival October 5th through 7th or something like that.
Yeah.
Boise, what's up? I've been to Boise once.
That's Idaho. It's a different
That is Idaho. You're right. Well, we almost went 100% of the show without going to the corrections department. We're not family no more.
Sorry,
you're,
y'all.
You're not getting your Pomona sponsor. Oh, also, the last Wednesday of every month, my show, I Don't Know You Either, with Paul Antonio happens. This next one, well, this next one's actually not the last Wednesday, but October 24th, we're doing a show. Tamara Katan's headlining, and I got a dope lineup of comics. Both up-and-comers and established comics from the LA area are coming out to the Inland Empire. So if you live in the Inland Empire, please come out and support my show. I want there to be more than the 12 people that were there to see Harry.
Yeah, go. It's a fucking fun show. And
It's great. So it's always a great lineup, and everybody, all the comics I go are, I don't book no scrubs.
And the beer is good on top of that. So
Beer's good. It's a good comedy show when you're like, the poutine tastes great. It's just plenty of beers on tap. You guys will have fun, even if the comedy's whatever. Just go to the go to the bottom bar. There's karaoke. There's karaoke happening in the bottom. Downstairs.
fuck,
That's what I was trying to say.
Karaoke. Come to the comedy show. It's worth it.
Stay for the karaoke.
Yes.
All right, guys.
And again, this has been Comedy Bumble Cast. Okay, sorry. That's it. I don't get to do patois very often. And yeah.
All right, guys. We on that note, we out. Bye.